Marriage is more than a celebration of love. It is also a legal contract that comes with rights, responsibilities, and consequences recognized by law. In Nigeria, marriages conducted under the Marriage Act, Cap M6, laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, are often referred to as statutory marriages or court marriages. Unlike customary or Islamic marriages, a statutory marriage is monogamous in nature and carries legal implications that affect everything from inheritance to property ownership and divorce. This video will unpack the legal effects of marriage under the Marriage Act, explain how it shapes the lives of spouses, and highlight the protections and limitations that come with it. First, let's look at understanding the marriage. Under the Act, Section 18 of the Marriage Act defines marriage as the voluntary union for life of one man and one woman to the exclusion of all others. This distinguishes statutory marriage from customary and Islamic marriages, which may permit polygamy. The law provides that the marriage must be conducted before a licensed registrar or in a licensed place of worship. Both parties must be legally eligible to marry, that is, not already married under the Act, of age, and with consent where required, and formalities such as issuance of notice of marriage, oath or declaration of no impediment, and signing of the marriage certificate must be completed. Once these are done, the union is legally recognized, and several effects immediately flow from it. So let's talk about exclusivity and monogamy. One of the most significant effects of a statutory marriage is that it is monogamous. Neither spouse can contract another statutory marriage while the current one subsists. Contracting another statutory marriage while already married constitutes bigamy, a criminal offense under Section 370 of the Criminal Code Act, punishable by up to 7 years imprisonment. The exclusivity ensures that spouses have legal protection from being replaced or displaced by a rival statutory partner, with capacity and validity. The Act sets out the conditions that must be met for a marriage to be valid. Here we have factors like 1. Age of consent. A person under 21 years requires parental consent. Failure to obtain such consent can render the marriage voidable. 2. Prohibited degrees of relationship. Marriage between close relatives is void. Prohibitions are listed under the Marriage Act and the Matrimonial Causes Act. And 3. Mental capacity. Both parties must have the mental capacity to understand the nature of the marriage contract. If these conditions are breached, the marriage may be declared void ab initio, invalid from the start. Now we can talk about the legal status of the spouses. Upon entering a statutory marriage, the couple is recognized by law as husband and wife, with all rights and duties attaching to that status. A wife traditionally takes her husband's surname, though not mandatory under the Nigerian law. They are treated as a single family unit for legal purposes, especially in matters relating to inheritance, adoption, and property rights. Either spouse can sue or be sued in their own name. When it comes to the rights and obligations of spouses, the Act does not spell out every right and duty, but Nigerian courts and the Matrimonial Causes Act have clarified them. Rights include 1. Consortium, which is the right to companionship, love, and affection. 2. Cohabitation, right to live together and share a matrimonial home. 3. Sexual rights, the implied right to sexual relations, though marital rape is still a controversial area in Nigerian law. 4. Maintenance and support, which a spouse may seek financial support from the other under certain circumstances. Obligations include fidelity and exclusivity, mutual support in sickness and health, and shared responsibility for children and family upkeep. Failure to perform these obligations may constitute grounds for divorce or judicial separation under the Matrimonial Causes Act, with regards to rights and ownership. Statutory marriage influences property ownership in several ways like 1. Joint ownership, where couples may choose to buy property jointly, and upon the death of one spouse, the survivor automatically becomes the sole owner, where property is held as joint tenancy. 2. Separate property. Nigerian law still recognizes individual ownership of property acquired before or during marriage. There is no automatic community of property regime. And 3. Claims at divorce. situations where courts may distribute property equitably, especially where one spouse can prove contribution, financial or otherwise. In Okonkwo v. Okonkwo, 2014, the court affirmed that indirect contributions like homemaking may be considered in property distribution. When it comes to inheritance and succession, if a person dies intestate, that is without a will, their estate is distributed according to the administration of estates law and English principles of succession, not customary law. A statutory marriage automatically revokes prior customary marriages. Thus, a spouse from a customary marriage has no inheritance rights once a valid statutory marriage is in place. Statutory spouses and children are recognized as primary beneficiaries. Another case reference is Salubai v. Nwariaku, 2003, 7 NWLR, Part 819-426. The Supreme Court held that once a statutory marriage exists, customary law succession no longer applies. When it comes to divorce and dissolution, unlike customary marriages, statutory marriages can only be dissolved by a high court under the Matrimonial Causes Act. Grounds include adultery, cruelty, desertion, and irretrievable breakdown of marriage. The court must ensure proper custody and maintenance arrangements for children before granting divorce. This makes dissolution more formal, structured and protective of rights compared to customary divorce practices. Legitimacy and rights of children implies children born within a statutory marriage are deemed legitimate under Nigerian law and have full rights of inheritance from both parents. Their legitimacy is not questioned even if the marriage is later annulled, so long as the marriage was valid at inception. Contrast this with customary marriages, where children's legitimacy may sometimes be disputed if the marriage procedures were incomplete. On the topic of protection from domestic violence, while the Marriage Act itself is silent on domestic violence, statutory marriages give spouses access to additional legal remedies under 1. The Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015 applicable in Abuja and some adopting states, and 2. The Lagos State Domestic Violence Law 2007, which protects spouses from abuse and provides for restraining orders. Statutory marriage often strengthens a victim's standing to seek such remedies. The exceptions and practical realities are 1. Dual marriage. Some Nigerians contract both customary and statutory marriages. In such cases, once the statutory marriage is conducted, it overrides the customary one. 2. Invalid marriages. If statutory procedures are not followed, examples are no registrar license, fake consent, or existing marriage, the union may be void. And 3. Foreign marriages. Marriages contracted abroad can be recognized in Nigeria if they comply with the laws of the foreign country and are registered in Nigeria. As for the pros and cons of marriage under the Act, pros include legal certainty, protection of rights, ensures exclusivity, that is monogamy, global recognition, especially for immigration and international transactions, and protection of inheritance rights of spouse and children. Cons include formal dissolution, which is always expensive and time-consuming. Spouses have limited automatic property sharing rights compared to community property systems abroad, and some cultural expectations like bride price or traditional rights may clash with statutory procedures. To conclude, marriage under the Marriage Act in Nigeria is more than a social or religious institution. It is a binding legal contract with wide-ranging effects. From inheritance rights to property ownership and divorce proceedings, statutory marriage creates obligations that cannot be ignored. For couples considering tying the knot, understanding these effects is crucial to making informed decisions. Consulting a lawyer before and after the marriage can help avoid costly mistakes and ensure that both parties are fully aware of their rights and duties. For more legal insights, follow Tonik Law Partners on YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn.